Just make sure. Yeah, okay, we are live. Uh, yeah, gonna do not sure how long we'll stream for tonight. I have a few videos queued up. We may get to them, we may not. Um, you know me. I like to go off on tangents and not really react to stuff a lot of times. So, but yeah, um, people should be getting this notification soon. So I'll just start. Um, Yeah, the first video I want to show you, seemed pretty interesting. It's this video. It's only a few minutes long, so we should get through this one at the very least.
A lot of either negative things or positive things in sleep. This is getting too easy. Just sleeping sadhana. So coming awake to an alarm bell with a sudden start is not the best way to do your life.
I was gonna say this guy is very. I don't know much about him, but what I do know about him, he seems very interesting. Um, most of what I watched two videos by him. One was him talking about life in general, and then another was him talking about Osho. You can actually watch that Osho video because it's pretty interesting. But yeah.
How many of you find that one day morning when you get up without any reason, you're just feeling ugly for no reason? If it is happening even at least 2-3 times a year, if it is, then you must do certain things before you go to bed. It's very, very important.
Someone that Neville Goddard trained, one of his statements was never go to sleep unhappy. Never go to sleep with the idea that you aren't all you can be, because it immediately sets up your next day for failure. It immediately sets up the next day to be upset, be unhappy, be stressed out, all these emotions. And it's like, you got to break the cycle at some point. And it's the trick to breaking the cycle is to fall asleep in the state filled.
Because unconsciously, you need to understand this, you can incubate a lot of either negative things or positive things in sleep. Either pleasantness or unpleasantness, you can incubate very effectively, uninterrupted in sleep. You can also incubate it in the day, but there are so many interruptions, it doesn't happen very efficiently. But
When you fall asleep for the rest of the night, whatever you fell asleep with is what is going to influence your dreams. This is why we can almost, I mean, if you've seen the movie Inception, like we can almost cater our dreams to certain things if we really fixate on certain ideas, and we can carry these moods with us to the next day. So it's like if you had a bad day, drop it. Don't carry it with you. Take a new mood into tomorrow.
if you have a tendency to go to bed in a certain way and you wake up in the morning really nasty for simply no reason, that means you're incubating things in the night very efficiently. Bad eggs. This is not just about psychological disturbances, it can cause major physiological problems over a period of time. It's important that you eliminate these things from your life.
I don't know why they're putting stock footage in these videos. It's weird to me. Like the guy's words are powerful enough. You don't need stock images. I don't know. Every time I see a video that does stuff like that, I'm like, it's just being overproduced. It's annoying to me. It takes away from the
So,
authenticity. It
before
makes
you
it a
go to bed
product,
in the
not
night, there are
just
certain things
a
that you need to
statement.
take care of. It's best if you're eating meat and other kinds of meals, you eat at least 3 to 4 hours before you go to bed. The digestion is over. Before
Digestion is the hardest thing your body does, and when your body is taking away energy for digestion, it doesn't compensate. Like it can't really do much else. And this is why if you've ever fasted, if you ever haven't eaten for a while and you eat a tremendous amount of food, like your body just shuts down. It's because all the energy that you were using for other functions is now just straight into the stomach. And it's this idea of brain fog. It's this idea that we can't really do something when we break a fast. It's the same thing when you go to sleep too. Like you're not going to sleep as deeply. The processes that your body undergoes to put yourself in the sleepy state isn't going to be as productive. Even though there's people that feel like I'm one of these people. Like when I eat, I get more tired. This is something I have to actively fix because it's not good for me to eat at the times I've been eating.
Going to bed, drink a certain amount of water and go to bed, you will see it gets taken care of just like this. One simple thing can be just a shower. Always to shower before go to bed. It'll make a lot of difference. In this weather, maybe cold showers are difficult, so you go for lukewarm showers. Don't
The showers have like a natural calming effect. There was a study, I don't feel like pulling it up, but there was a study that was showing that the sound of moving water has a natural calming effect on human beings, and simply getting in the shower, cleaning yourself off, like it's almost like a symbolic ritual of you getting ready, you relaxing, you unwinding, and think all throughout the day you're on your phone, all throughout the day you're watching TV, you're playing video games, you're doing all these things. Like in the bathroom, in the shower is the only place where you're really going to be completely alone. You can completely unwind, you can shut yourself off from the world and allow the relaxation before bed to occur. Enhances everything, focus, physical ability. What are you talking about?
go for hot showers in the night. Go for lukewarm showers. It makes you alert. So you will think, oh, I cannot sleep. It doesn't matter, you will sleep 15, 20 minutes or half an hour later, but you will sleep better because it will take away certain things. When you shower, it is not just the dirt on the skin that you're taking away. Have you noticed if you're very tense and anxious, whatever, just a
Oh yeah,
shower,
yeah, yeah. Fasting's one of the best things you can do, yeah. Fasting's like it's a spiritual experience as well. Um, there's like the idea that like I mean, the reason why monks are celibate is because God is celibate. The reason why monks fast is because God doesn't eat. Like, the more you can expose yourself to the states of consciousness of God, the more like you can be to Him. And this is the basic pursuit of going out, living in the mountain, living away from society, and isolating yourself from pretty much everything else to get into this solitude and get into this state where you transcend your individuality, I'll say.
you came out and feels like almost the burden has been taken away from you. Have you not noticed this? So it's not just about washing the skin. A whole lot of things happen when
The military probably does it because they want their soldiers to get used to not eating. Because when you're on the battlefield, you don't know when you're going to eat. So I think it could be the health, but I think it's just a practicality thing. You know what I mean? To train up that ability to be hungry, that ability to function and be starving.
water flows over your body. This shower is a very rudimentary bhuti shuddhi because over 70% of your body is actually water. If you run water over it, a certain purification happens, which is beyond cleaning the skin. One more thing if you want to do, you just light an organic oil lamp, a cotton wick, some oil, anything. What do you use here? Normal cooking oil. Linseed oil, rice bran oil or sesame oil, what do you have? Olive oil, fine. Any organic
Yeah,
oil
yeah.
with a cotton wick, just
Fasting is something that um, it's genuinely one of the most beneficial things you can do. I just think people get too obsessed about it. I think I mean, there's an entire subset of people on the internet that their entire lives, their entire personality is fasting, and it's like, all right, man, I think it's good for you. I think it's something that would help a lot of people, but I'm not going to like shout from the rooftops about it. This is a good stream, isn't it? What's good, Hypnonia? How's everything, man? Are you asking the question like it isn't? Are you being sarcastic? How's everything, man? I don't think I've seen you in a few days.
Burn one little lamp somewhere in the room where you sleep. You will see these things will completely disappear. If you can bring in a chant or there are nightly practices, yogic practices, before you go to bed, sit on your bed and do this practice. Do you know, if you live for about 60 years…
It's got something to sell. Dude, the worst thing is, I don't know what Instagram did. I literally deleted it off my phone. I can't deal with it. It's just like, I'm literally getting like ads for like the most boring podcast possible, the most boring information possible. It's like, I don't know who told these people on the internet that they need to hyper fixate on a certain subclass of individuals, but like legit, like I saw an ad the other day, and I don't know why it went to me. It was like, "Are you an Indian engineer that wants to get in shape?" It's like, what? What does that even mean? Like, why? Like, dude, if you want to help people get in shape, just help everybody. I don't get why you're like doing like this sales tactic. It comes off as so inauthentic. I want people to look at what I do and hear the things I say and want more. I don't want people to be conned into wanting anything I'm giving out. You know what I mean? It's just such a weird way to approach things. It's also just feels so scammy. You know what I mean? Freddy the Frettler. What are you talking about?
years, on an average, most human beings are eating anywhere between 1100 to 1400 tons of food. So that means even what you think is my body is not this, it's changing every day. New input is happening and old things are going away.
I'm laughing because you said there's a coin flip guru. There definitely is. But like, I get selling information. Like it's something that has always been done. I mean, look at the school system, and it's something that will always be done because people are willing to pay to speed up their development, their learning process. And like, this is the entire idea of consulting. But like, why are you gonna like? There's just so much emphasis on the sale thing. You know, what I mean, I think it's very stupid. He's talking about crypto coins, though, probably.
So 1400 tons, you don't have to carry that much of weight right now. So obviously, what you have as a body right now is just a transient amount of food and soil, isn't it? Hello? So what you think is mine also is not
This
it.
guy
It is
reminds
just
me so
all
much
the
of. He reminds me so much of Osho.
time changing. Tonight before you go to bed,
Way
spend
less
at least 12,
controversial, though.
15 minutes reminding yourself, you're neither this body nor this mind. Just lie down and just remind yourself, this body is not really you. It is mine right now for use, but it's not really me. Just…
You have a book on
if you're
coin
not able to
flipping?
do it, just link it to your breath. Inhalation, I'm not the body. Exhalation, I'm not…
Sadhguru, diplomatic, almost never gives blunt answers. I mean, there's a certain art to that, though, because it's the paradox where we find the deepest insights. I mean, if you read the Red Book by Jung, it's literally just paradoxical statements. I don't want to spoil it. I don't want to give it away, but like some of the deepest parts are from a blatant hypocrisy that doesn't really make sense. So same thing with Crowley too. Same thing with Taoism. Same thing with most anything that's very complex. Anything that like it encompasses different outlooks is usually the correct one, and that requires paradox. I mean, it's like the idea of like the more you cling on to something, the more fastly it's going to run away from you. But the less you cling on it, the more it's going to stick around. The more you're attached to something, that's the same exact example. But yeah, I mean, heads or tails, not crypto. You like your winners to be losers too. It's an interesting way of thinking about it. Let's look at Osho's. Oh, wait, I spelled it wrong. I don't know why I thought it was Sanskrit, but it is. This is a pretty interesting video.
Rajneesh was a master of controversy because one's way was never the same as the others. Explored his own way, expounded his own path, never in conflict with the one before him or the ones before him. This is not something that
It went down. Um, Sadhguru has read a lot of books of Osho, but claims he's not read books. That's that's so funny. That sounds like something Osho would do, to be honest. They kind of gotta respect it.
how do all these people fit together? This is because there is no right and wrong. The question is only about, has it worked for you or not? If it has worked to evolve you into a higher state of being, it doesn't matter whether it's right for me or not, whether it agrees with me or not.
That's a that's a great way of putting it. A lot of people like it's my way or the highway. Like if you don't completely agree with me, like I'm going to be like, that's wrong. No. If you find something that works for you, I'm never gonna tell you that it's wrong. I'm never gonna tell you that it's something that you shouldn't pursue. Like if it makes you a better person, if it makes you happy, then pursue it. There's so much like this is something that I think a lot of people online like don't really get. Like it's okay to disagree. It's okay to have differences in opinions because it's where you learn the most about others. Um, I don't know anything about Schopenhauer. I have a book by him that I have not read yet. Um, maybe we'll watch this video and I'll move it up the list of what I'm going to read next. But I just know that Nietzsche very much disagreed with this guy. That's all I know about Schopenhauer.
Minds seem to thrive socially. Arthur Schopenhauer, one of history's most brutally honest philosophers, cracked this riddle nearly 200 years ago. He established that intelligence itself becomes a mirror, reflecting back others' limitations. And people never forgive you for showing them what they don't want to see. Most people think it's just coincidence, that brilliant minds often live lonely lives. Or maybe smart people are just socially awkward. But Schopenhauer
Let me just check something real quick because I'm not really. Damn. Okay. The chat's good. All right. Just want to make sure. Um,
Schopenhauer saw something deeper, a pattern that plays out in every society, in every age. He noticed something interesting. When you put an intelligent person in a room, they don't have to say a word to make others uncomfortable. Their mere presence becomes like holding up a mirror to everyone else's limitations. And nobody likes looking in a mirror that shows them things they'd rather ignore. Think about it. We celebrate all kinds of superiority. Money, people love rich folks. Good looks,
I think what we view as intelligence really isn't intelligence anymore. I think true intelligence is the ability to get beyond yourself. Humpty Dumpty, yes, that's me. True intelligence is being able to see different perspectives, see where people are coming from, and then, you know, understand that and then argue your perspective from that understanding. Whereas today, it's like you have intellectuals that are blindly left, intellectuals that are blindly left, or blindly right. I don't know why I did that wrong. I said to the right, or I said to the left, and that's whatever. Did bro just say everyone loves rich people? No, no one really loves rich people. Um, I'm literally that dude. Thank you, fucking kitty.
we can't get enough. Even physical strength gets admiration. But superior intelligence? That's different. It stirs up a special kind of resentment, a quiet hatred that most people won't even admit to themselves. So how did Schopenhauer come to understand this dark side of human nature?
All I was trying to say is intelligence is nonpartisanism. That's it. When you get beyond your personality.
And why do his
I didn't
insights
hear it if you
matter
said that.
more than ever in today's world? Born in 1788 in Germany, Schopenhauer wasn't just some ivory tower philosopher theorizing about life. He lived through the exact dynamics he wrote about. As a young lecturer, he scheduled his university classes at the same time as the famous philosopher Hegel, who he saw as a complete fraud.
I don't know anything about Hegel either. These are like people that I see cited everywhere, and I know I have to read at some point, but I just haven't gotten around to it
While
yet.
Hegel's lectures packed the halls, Schopenhauer's sat empty. But instead of just getting bitter, he got curious. Why did people flock to comforting nonsense while avoiding harder truths? He started watching how people behaved around intelligence, not just in universities, but everywhere. He saw the same pattern over and over. The smarter someone was, the more others found subtle ways to exclude them, not because they were rude or arrogant, just because their intelligence itself made others feel smaller.
Does this not like, I don't know if Eddie's still here or not. Um, this sounds like the biggest cope, doesn't it? This seems just like Schopenhauer was like intelligent and he just didn't have friends and he's like, yeah, people don't like smart people. Maybe it's like a true observation, maybe it is correct, but it seems like it came out of the biggest cope possible.
Living modestly off his inheritance, Schopenhauer had the freedom to observe society without needing its approval. He watched how people gathered in groups, who they welcomed, who they pushed away. The patterns he saw weren't pretty, but they were consistent. Modern science has caught up with what Schopenhauer observed through
I think he's doing good. Thanks for asking. I don't know if he's here, but I'll let him know that people are asking if he's not.
pure insight. Recent studies in social psychology reveal fascinating evidence about why intelligent people face social rejection. Brain imaging research shows something remarkable. When people feel intellectually inferior, it activates the same neural pathways as physical pain. It's not just a figure of speech when people say intelligence hurts their ego. It literally triggers
Intelligence is just original thinking, in my opinion, the ability to exist beyond the boxes. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, the ability to take what you learn from your education, the ability to take what you learn from your observations and apply them in different contexts. And I think a lot of intelligence is being able to admit when you're wrong, being able to admit when you should soften up on something or when you should become more rigid on something. Being willing to challenge your own beliefs. I think that's a lot of intelligence. That's where, I mean, I think that's why Jung is when I read Jung, I think that's why it speaks to me so much because he doesn't purport to know everything. Because he doesn't purport to know everything, he can go into something without bias. I mean, this is why Socrates was considered the smartest man ever, because the Oracle of Delphi named him the smartest man ever. Everyone gets all up in arms, runs to him, they're like, this Oracle said that you were the smartest person ever. And he goes, I'm not the smartest person ever, I know nothing. They go back to the Oracle, they're like, this so-called smartest man knows nothing. And they go back and they say, or the Oracle says, that's why he's the smartest man. Because he has no preconceived notions about things, because he hears out all sides, because he evaluates things for himself. And he gets beyond his own person. He gets beyond his own perspective.
pain responses in the brain. A 2021 study found that exposure to superior intelligence activates our threat detection systems. The amygdala, our brain's alarm system, lights up when we encounter someone significantly smarter than us. It's the same response we have to physical threats, explaining why the reaction feels so instinctive and hard to control. Researchers at Stanford discovered something even more interesting. This response is stronger in group settings. When people are alone
This sounds
with
like
someone
a
more intelligent,
this me. I don't agree with this. Like I think this is like massive cope. Like if you're so insecure about your intelligence, I think like you just look at deep inside yourself and just learn that okay, if someone else can do it, I can do it as well. I mean, it's very weird. Smart person knows he's smart, but a really smart person knows how smart he is. Yes.
the threat response is minimal, but add more people to the room, and it spikes dramatically. Our brains seem wired to protect our social status more than our private self-image. But this hardwired response isn't the whole story. What Schopenhauer discovered about how we consciously process this unconscious reaction reveals something even more profound. And what he discovered about how intelligence affects human behavior would explain something that had puzzled people for centuries. Here's what Schopenhauer discovered. People don't just randomly dislike intelligence. It triggers something
I feel like I'm not gonna agree with this already. If it doesn't get any more exciting, I think we'll just go to another video.
deep in human psychology, something most of us won't even admit to ourselves. When someone smarter enters a conversation, everyone else unconsciously measures themselves against them, not because they want to, but because they can't help it. It's like putting a professional athlete in a casual pickup game. Suddenly, everyone feels their limitations. Schopenhauer noticed how people react to this feeling. They don't say, wow, this person makes me feel dumb. Instead, they assume the intelligent person looks down on them. Even if the smart person hasn't said a word about their intelligence.
This seems like I'm not, this is such a basic observation. I'm not gonna keep watching this. We'll go to Robert Greene. I was just like, oh, one of the greatest philosophers said that people don't like smart people because they compare themselves to them and feel inferior. Like, okay, genius. How long did it take you to come up with that theory? Was Schopenhauer just a lonely, narcissistic genius? I think so. Um, I mean, if you saw the portrait of him, that's what he looks like. No, I think Schopenhauer has some interesting ideas. I just don't know enough about him yet. Um, it could just be that video, don't get me wrong. Like that wasn't something where I like was like, oh wow, like this is something that I'm gonna come back to. This is an idea that I'm going to explore more about. Like, no, if anything, it just means that I won't read Schopenhauer for a very long time. I think he has a Nietzsche has will to power, and Schopenhauer's one of his ideas was power to will. I know this sounds so stupid, but will to power is the idea that human beings want to exert themselves on their environment, whereas power to will is human beings want to survive. Human beings do everything motivated to survive. Um, I think it's somewhere in between there, but
there that human beings are continually expressing, and you want to make yourself sensitive to it, because the degree that you can begin to piece together this puzzle, you'll have tremendous power in the social realm. Well, something that I wrote a lot about in the Laws of Human Nature, I want to talk briefly about
I've talked about this a lot the past few days. The Laws of Human Nature is his best book.
is the idea of nonverbal communication, of the ability to decipher people, the people that you deal with on a higher level, because we are social animals. To the degree that you walk around in this world, not really understanding the people around you, not really reading their signs, not really knowing what they're feeling or what they're thinking, puts you at an incredible disadvantage. You're like groping continually around.
We make observations about people, we make judgments about people without even knowing it. And a lot of times these judgments aren't justified. A lot of these times these judgments are to from some narcissistic need to become superior to others. And like this is something that if you recognize you do, it's a very beneficial trait because I mean think of how many times you like saw someone you're like, I'm not gonna like this person. You get to know them and they become one of your best friends. Like that's happened to me so many times. And I think being aware of our likelihood to do stuff like this is something that will make us more approachable.
In the darkness, and it makes you unhappy because it creates all kinds of drama in your life where
He's old. He had a stroke at some point too. He used to look a lot better. He just looks like a I don't know about the goatee. I don't think the goatee is really it, but he's 65. I mean, he's not like a spring chicken. Dude, you're right though. Like when you see him, you're like, this is some evil manipulative mastermind, and then you just like you see a picture of him or a video of him, and you're like, oh, this is just like a writer. Like like someone asked me, is like I don't know, maybe they thought that like he's like one of my heroes. I do really like him as a writer, but like there's writers that I love so much more. But someone was like, would you want to meet him one day? And I was like, I don't know, because in my mind, he is like the quintessential example of a human strategist. And when I meet him, I'll understand that he's just a man and it'll take away from the idealized version I have of him in my mind. You know what I mean? It's the same thing if like I were to meet like Jung, if I were to meet who else do I have around me? Neville Goddard or Nietzsche or I don't have any books I haven't read or I have read around me. But yeah.
you're continually misreading the people around you. You hire somebody based on their apparent charm.
Some people believe that Machiavelli wrote that as a satirical take, because Machiavelli had philosophy as well, and it's very different from The Prince. I haven't read it, but I've heard that it's actually very inspirational, and it's not at all Machiavellian. So like, there's the idea that he wrote that as a joke to like kind of make fun of the idea of being a king, the idea of these things. There's even some support that like he didn't like the system of kings. I don't know. This is stuff that I heard a while ago that I can't substantiate, but this is like a well-known idea about him.
Discover that they're actually a toxic personality, and it can ruin the dynamic.
Who's my favorite writer? My favorite it depends on the day, honestly. It depends on the context. It depends on what I want to read. Um, Kafka's definitely up there. Jung is definitely up there. Um, Osho's up there. Um, I'm trying to think of books that I read, put down, and was like, this is something that changed my life. Um, I like Aldous Huxley a lot. What? Oh, I really like Camus as well. Camus is one of, um, I think I'd have to put Camus in my top three. So we'll go Kafka, Camus, and Jung, probably. I think those are the best. Osho's like a close four. I believe he literally wrote the book to gain freedom back. I could see that. I could see that. If you had to choose though, like if I had to choose, like what do you like? What? Give me the context behind it. Like I can only read the books of one author for the rest of my life. I'd choose probably Jung. Um, but like fiction is it's Kafka for sure. Like narratives, like when you read Kafka, things just continue to progressively get worse in unimaginable ways, and it's so horrific that you can't put it down. Like that's Kafka's style, and Kafka has such a bleak and um terrible outlook of the world because nothing ever worked out for him that like it's almost like refreshing that things don't work out in the end. It's almost refreshing that there's not a good ending to things. Like that's why I like Kafka because I mean, even Dostoevsky, like you read Crime and Punishment, it's a semi-happy ending. It's like I don't remember the character's name, but he doesn't really deserve a happy ending. Like sure you can chalk it up to the redemptive force of Christianity and how he finds God again. Like maybe that's the statement behind it, but like that doesn't really seem like a novel that should end in a good way. It seems like a novel that should end in the idea of this guy getting a much harsher punishment. Only one. I just said it, yo.
You get involved in a relationship with someone who seems very loving and giving, and then they turn out to be a raging narcissist. It creates years of trouble and trauma for you. So understanding people on a deeper level in a dimensional way is incredibly important.
Raskolnikov, that's his name?
Particularly in the Laws of Human Nature, is that humans have two languages. You are obsessed.
Yeah, that's true. He has so many fucking books. And they're all like 800 pages. Well, not, they're like 500, 600 pages. But like the best part about his writings too is he was like an artist as well. So like a lot of the things you see in it, a lot of the paintings, a lot of the pictures are his own. It's kind of cool. But yeah, what I like about Robert Greene though is he synthesizes a lot of ideas that are maybe not worth exploring, like reading entire books about it, but he synthesizes it and puts it all in one place. That's what I really like about his style. Because like if you're really new to reading and you don't know where to start and you want to get a real general knowledge of things, a real general knowledge of psychology or philosophy or strategy, like or even basic tips to like not get taken advantage of, like you read Robert Greene. I think he's the best at that.
With one language, which is words. You are continually fixating on people's words. And everything we know about words is we can lie. I can tell you right now here on camera that I am the most brilliant person in the universe, or I can tell you something else, that I can dunk a basketball. I can say whatever, but it's an outright lie. I can say whatever I want. Words are actually a form that can be used for a great weapon for deception. Okay, but there's a second language that is not very much harder to express deception in. And it's not just a language.
It's called the book he's working on is called Sublime, and it's the blending of I think it tackles religion. I can't remember exactly what it is. Towards the Sublime. It's coming out in 2 years. So it's gonna come out in like a little I don't know why Google's not giving me a summary. Oh, what's up, Sahida? How's everything? Where did that suspicion come from? I mean, his books have continually gotten better. I mean, The Laws of Human Nature wasn't that the last one he wrote? Or no, it was The Daily Laws. I just think like um you can see him get better and better at explaining himself in his writing, I think.
Of the body, it's also a language of gesture and behavior. So I want you to start thinking in this way. I want you to start thinking there's a second language out there that human beings are continually expressing, and you want to make yourself sensitive to it, because the degree that you can begin to piece together this puzzle, you'll have tremendous power in the social realm. You won't get dragged into all of these needless dramas that will weigh you down and that will cause you sleepless nights. You'll be able to influence people on a higher
It's an
level.
interesting
You
stream
get them
today.
to
Thank you so much.
be more interested in your ideas. You will be able to pierce their defenses. You can't read other people's minds. I don't know what you're thinking right now out there. Of course, I don't even know anything about you because you're invisible. But if you were here right now, I wouldn't be able to read your thoughts. But I can sense your moods, your emotions. We humans have that power. So let me guide you very briefly through that and how you do that.
Yeah,
The most
yeah.
obvious
I would
way is the face.
I would agree. I think each of his books tackles like an aspect of humanity in a certain way. I mean, Art of Seduction, 33 Strategies of War, 48 Laws of Power, Laws of Human Nature, Mastery, where's other ones? Daily Laws, the 50th Law. I think I named all of them. There's probably one more that I missed, but they all kind of tackle broadly the same thing, but in a different aspect. Like he uses a lot of the same examples for them as well, but he takes them in different ways, which is the coolest part about it. Like I've learned more about Napoleon from Robert Greene than I ever have through any history documentary I watched, through any history class I've taken. Like it's truly so interesting to see his motivation, see why he did certain things. Like I don't give a fuck about the exact battles. I don't care about the exact strategy. Like I want to know about the man. I want to know what motivated him to do certain things. I want to know like how he could, you know, be such a great general, yet eventually it all came crashing down. I feel the best way to understand others is to understand for yourself. Yeah. So I think I'll final book. Yeah. I don't know if it's gonna be his final book, but I know he's been working on it for a year or so already.
Okay? You need to pay greater attention to people's facial gestures, to people's facial behavior. So the eyes generally express authentic emotion and surprise and excitement by the way that they open, right? And we've all experienced people who have what I would call dead eyes, right? So something I've noticed a lot with people who are incredible narcissists. Narcissists.
Is it me or like when you're watching TV and you just like see a celebrity like giving an interview, you're like, there's nothing behind those eyes. Like, I don't know if it's just me that notices these things, but like ever since I like really started paying attention to these things, I'm like, damn it, like these people that I like not like like worship, but like, oh, this guy's pretty cool. Like I don't see anything, you know what I mean?
Can sometimes give you the impression that they're really, really interested in your ideas, right? They seem to maybe have a degree of empathy. They're listening to you. They're letting you talk. Oh, they can't be a narcissist. But pay attention. Their eyes will give them away. While they seem to be talking to you and getting, their eyes are not engaging with you. There's something dead about them. There's a discrepancy. You are looking for discrepancies in facial expressions. The eyes say something, but the mouth.
The other things to tell about body language as well is it's very easy to control like your body if you're nervous, but it's very difficult to control your extremities. So like the person might seem extremely confident, but you'll see them like shaking. Like you'll see this, you'll see a little bit of like rigid movement. That's another way to tell certain things. And I mean, there's the idea of like having closed off body language versus open body language, relaxed body language versus stressed out body language. Like these are things that your mind inherently picks up on, but sometimes if you're conscious of it, it gives you a whole nother understanding. Like, I mean, most of communication is like nonverbal. Think like if I say what I'm saying and I'm screaming, like it's gonna give off a different meaning. But if I say it the way I'm saying it, like I don't know if how calm I am or how calm I sound, but like it's more laid back. It's more of like just you know what I mean? It's like it conveys different meanings in different ways I say
This
things.
is something else, right?
And it's not
People
just
are
that too, it's body
smiling,
language goes into that as well.
a fake smile. A fake smile.
The greatest example of this is like Obama or Trump. Like if I were to read either of their guys those guys' speeches out loud, it wouldn't be the same as when they say it. Like I don't agree with anything Obama's like did or stands for. Like I mean I think like some of the things he did was really bad. I mean, same thing with Trump. I don't like a lot of the things he's done, but like you have to give it to him. Like when they're speaking, they're it's like a magical way of just winning you over to their side. And it's through the body language, it's through the inflection, it's through the tone, it's through the way that they look into the camera. Like it's all of these little things that make the greatest speakers the greatest speakers. I mean, Obama literally like stutters. Like every single person that talks about oratory, they'll tell you not to stutter. They'll tell you not to say But Obama does all of these things, and he's probably the best speaker ever. I don't know. I can't name one person that like stands for so little that can move me so much. You know what I mean? Maybe I mean Martin Luther King Jr. is a great speaker as well, but or Malcolm X or JFK. I think these are all really good speakers, but um, yeah, like I think it's so much more than just purely the words, purely the things being said. It's everything else that goes into it. And if you really want to get good at speaking, like study these people, especially if you don't agree with what they're saying. Like when you start studying people that you disagree with and see what they do right, that's where you really learn things. Because it's one thing to agree with someone and learn from them, but it's another to, almost get a veneration, respect for someone that you don't like that's where the real growth comes from.
Has the mouth going up, but the eyes aren't. The whole face isn't kind of showing excitement. It's not going
Do you
across the
easily trust
entire.
people? Depends. Actually, I think it depends on the context. So, like, I'll trust people with small things, like if there's not like a huge risk of anything. Like, I'm not gonna like close myself off, but like my deep, like the deeper side of me, yeah, I don't trust people. It just comes from like childhood issues, but. Like even in relationships, it's really hard for me to trust people. I'm not that smart. I'm just a good speaker. That's the again, like I need to keep saying this because like people keep saying I'm smart. I'm not smart. I'm a good speaker. You ever heard Justin Trudeau talk? Yeah, he is very convincing as well. Like imagine if Trudeau couldn't speak even more though. You know what I mean? Like Trudeau is probably one of the worst politicians I've ever seen. And like even some like you have to understand like That guy got elected to power simply because of his appearance, simply because he looked presidential. Is it a president in Canada? I don't know anything about the Canadian. Is it prime minister? Whatever the fuck he is. Um, he got elected simply because his father was that same position, and he sounds good. It's the same thing as Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom has no he doesn't stand for anything. You know what I mean? Like if chopping off people's arms became popular tomorrow, like Gavin Newsom would run on that platform. Like that dude just cares about power. He'll do anything or say anything to get more power, more recognition, more fame. Like he would sell his mother down the river for, an ounce of reputation, but it's the same thing. It's the saying less with more. It's being able to move a crowd with not your words, but with your body language, with your inflection, with the way that you do certain things. It's almost an art form, and it's very unfortunate that some of the scummiest people on earth have mastered this art. But yeah, I mean, yeah, what are you gonna do?
Your face. You're looking for
He sounded good initially, but people see through Trudeau now. Yeah, yeah. But it's the thing is, they're politicians, man. What do you expect for them? Like, do you expect them to be like if they were really these revolutionaries are the right word. If they were really these like benevolent leaders, they would have been taken out like JFK was taken out. You know what I mean? It's like the only people that like push back against the tyrannies of like authoritarian governments are taken out. It's like, you know what I mean? I mean, Lincoln, JFK, Reagan started to push back. They tried to assassinate him. Like Andrew Jackson started to push back. Luckily, that the guy had two flintlock pistols. The first one misfired, the second one misfired, and an elderly Andrew Jackson beat the shit out of this guy with a cane. It's so funny. But again, it's like anyone that wants to actually make a change will never see office, and that's what I think people need to understand. It's like you're not going to get change through a corrupt system. Like you're going to get change through changing yourself, changing your local surroundings, changing your family, like inspiring others to be great. It's first through your own actions that any spark of change is created. Psychopaths and sociopaths necessarily succeed more in politics. They're born with, yeah, yeah. Osho had a really good take on politicians. Basically, what he was saying was politicians don't even know who they are. Their families don't even know who they are. They're constantly lying. They're constantly fibbing. They're constantly foregoing themselves for some political favor. They're sacrificing this aspect of their beliefs to win this vote. They're sacrificing this other one to win this vote. They're making deals like they're so two-faced that they're two-faced to themselves. Like it's really a sad life, and it's really sad because I mean every single accomplishment that is ever done, that it ever will be done, will eventually be unwritten by the sands of time. Alexander the Great will soon fade into the memory of this world. Like soon we won't know who Genghis Khan is. Like these people that literally did more than humanly possible to do today will one day be forgotten, and like people are willing to give everything away just for a tiny bit of power, for a tiny bit of legacy to prolong this idea that their name can live on forever after they die. It's like it's the stupidest fucking thing ever. It's like I don't know who you are, but I don't think you're going to outdo Alexander the Great. I don't think you're going to outdo Caesar or Genghis Khan or, any of these like rulers that we still remember today. Like even today, most people don't even understand who Napoleon is. Most people don't understand the significance of Napoleon. Like I don't, I don't think that whatever small political power you have for a handful of years is going to make an impact that you think it is. That thought gives me a dreadful feeling. It shouldn't give you a dreadful feeling. It should show you that the things that matter aren't material. Most of our lives are put into seeking material things. And when we put time into seeking material things, we take time away from seeking spiritual things, seeking things that, actually mean something. Does it matter what political position you hold? Does it matter how much money you have if you have a loving family? If you spend all your time with them, if you spend your time doing things that you genuinely care about, that genuinely bring good in this world, no, doesn't matter. It's like we put all our time, energy, and focus into the wrong things, and we wonder why we're all so unhappy. It's like, I don't know what to tell you.
Or like something that doesn't quite fit, where there's excitement in their voice, but there's nothing happening on their face. Okay? So be attentive to these signs, to the signs of genuine emotion.
I pray we never forget who built our modern world. We forgot who Cicero was, man. Cicero is the inspiration for the Western world, and nobody knows who the fuck he is. You can say we'll never forget our history, but we already have. You know what I mean? Like there's events in history that were so significant at the time that they changed the world forever, and they've come and gone. Like it's just a natural order of things. It's just as what is it? The Lion King says, the circle of life. Like it's just how things work, man. And it's like it could either be a morbid thought or it could be an inspirational one because the more you understand that these barriers, that these things that we hold up in high esteem aren't meaningful, the more you can give yourself that meaning. You know what I mean? If there's a pressure and an anxiety to be part of this system and contribute to this system, then you're taking the joy away from yourself. You're not building something for yourself. You're not building something for your genuine self. You're building something for the good of society. It's like the good of society gets advanced by the good of the individual. If we had a million artists creating a million different things, wouldn't this world be such a better place? But instead, everyone's conforming. Instead, everyone's doing stuff to please others, to be more respected in society. And it's like, I don't get the need. I don't get the want. I don't get the desire. It doesn't make sense to me. It's like, I think it's so backwards. I know you probably don't believe it. How the fuck did you know that? I've never taken an IQ test, and I never will because I just don't care. Do you like Ayn Rand? I've never read her. I was it you that was telling me to read her? I will at some point, dude. There's so much shit I have to read. Um, yeah, I'll definitely find her stuff interesting. I'll probably disagree with her in some aspects, but I'll probably agree with her in others. I can see that happening. I don't know much about her, but yeah. What is high fluid intelligence? What does that mean? I'm like very spiritually inclined. I have access to my intuition, so it like makes me sound a lot smarter. You know that voice crack. It makes me sound a lot smarter than I actually am because when I'm being creative, like it just flows. Like if I don't have this creativity flowing though, I the dumbest person that you'll ever meet. No, it's different. Like my type of intelligence is like um it's creative. It's not like practical. You know what I mean? Like I can only focus so much harder. Like I can only focus so hard on one thing for a certain amount of time before I get bored. And then when I get bored, there's no shot I ever give it a good effort. So it's like it's debilitating in certain senses. Like someone called me smart the other day. I'm like, dude, whatever intelligence I have doesn't help me because it makes me less productive than I should be. Anthem is a great short story by her. It's about the collective destroying society. It's an interesting idea. Quick thinking, yeah, yeah. Yeah, that would probably be me then.
So when somebody really smiles, when somebody's really happy, when somebody's really interested in your ideas, their whole face tends to become animated. You don't see like one part is kind of dead and quiet and the other part is animated. The whole face, because we cannot control that part. When you're genuinely interested in it, everything lights up and you can't fake it. All right? Read people's tone of voice. People's tone of voice will tell you if they're sincere. It'll tell you whether they're deceiving you. It will tell you whether they're full of fear or not. Actors have learned over centuries that they can control to some degree their face, to mold it to a certain degree to show certain emotions, but it's very hard to control the voice.
Is it me or like The people that are considered good actors nowadays are not good. I don't know if it's just
difficult.
me.
So people reveal a lot of their actual excitement.
Like there comes a time when you become too famous of an actor, whereas like you're Leonardo DiCaprio in the movie. You're not whoever the fuck your character is. You're Brad Pitt in the movie. You're not what's his name? What's his name in Fight Club? I don't remember it. But yeah, it's like The Rock has played The Rock for the last 20 fucking years. Like I don't know. It's just I don't know if that's me or not, but I feel like they gotta get new people in Hollywood. Maybe that's it, but IQ tests are so much about pattern recognition to get annoying for someone with short attention spans. I mean, I can, if it's different things, I'll be able to focus. It's just like, it's when I have to do something for like weeks on end or all day. It's for nothing. Um, that's where I like lose interest. When it's something that like so clearly isn't worth my time, that's when I struggle to pay attention to it.
Their lack of interest through how they talk, their tone of voice. I don't have to go into great detail about it because you know it, you sense it. You're continually feeling these things day in and day out. You go in a meeting and you think people were interested in you and such, and you go out and you go, I don't know if that went so well. And when you have that doubt, it's because you probably sense on the nonverbal level that people seemed interested, but their bodies weren't showing that they were, that their voices weren't showing it. You can trust those kinds of opinions. Okay, so body.
Yeah, the thing about IQ tests is the test. Tests aren't perfect. Like, I'm sure there's like a genius throughout history who would have failed the test. And simply because he failed the test, like he thinks he's done the rest of his life and he doesn't achieve it. You know what I mean? Like there's no benefit to taking an IQ test. It either makes you sound so pretentious if you get a high score, or you think less of yourself and you achieve less because you think that you're dumb. Like it's you know what I mean? I just don't think it's a good parameter to even begin to quantify. It's like let your ideas speak for yourself. Don't have a test speak for you.
Language is extremely important. Books have been
I'm trying to
written,
follow
forests
along.
have
I'm not
developed
saying anything. I'm not saying anything complex.
for paper for these books about how to read body language. The thing you don't pay enough attention to are people's actions and gestures. One thing that I've always noticed that's very telling is how people say goodbye. When you're in a meeting or you just had lunch with someone, you've met them for the first time, are they kind of quick to get out of there? Is their goodbye sort of perfunctory? Do they really want to cut it off and get the hell out? Or is there this kind of thing of where they want to go on and on and on and on, right? How people say goodbye, how they end a telephone conversation.
There's like a lot of people that like obsess about body language, and it's like it's the easiest thing to learn. It's once you know it, it just kind of becomes second nature, and you kind of just sense it. Like some people just get like so granular about it. It's just like I don't get it. People with ADHD are usually very creative. I know it must suck to have it, but I think it's been. When did I say ADHD? What the fuck? Why am I getting attacked here?
Conversation, how they end an email, how they
I don't
end
think
a
I have
meeting or a
anything.
lunch tells you a lot about how they feel towards you. It's very eloquent. It's either I'm impatient. I really want to get away from this person. I really want to communicate as little as possible, or no, I want more of them, etc. So pay attention to that level. Pay attention to the tone in people's texts and emails. Believe it or not, you think you can read everything just by in-person communication, but you can read a lot through texts and emails. People reveal a lot of their excitement, their emotion, their interest in you, and who they are, and how they write even a simple text.
I think they're responding to me. Oh, okay. It's like, why am I getting attacked right now? It's such a weird thing.
Okay? I'm continually aware when I read people's work, like somebody in a newspaper or a book, I can tell how much of a narcissist, how big their ego is by the way that they write. So a narcissist will reveal.
Imagine you send something to Robert Greene like the day before this video, and he sends
reveal
That'd be so
yourself in
funny.
your writing style by all kinds of flowery, extravagant language that seems very interesting. Very
Yeah, this is the second video
all
I've
these
gone
kind of
through. What are you
wild
talking
metaphors,
about?
and you go, wow, that's kind of interesting. But then if you think about it, their ideas are really rather empty. There's nothing there. They're trying to sort of impress you with their verbal pyrotechnics. There's a columnist for the Washington Post. He's on the conservative side. I don't hold that against him. His name is George Will, very famous. His writing is so much involved in impressing people with how all of his...
You didn't finish the last two videos? I did. The last one was going into like an AI cut, so I just ended it. And this video is not good, so
illusions about history.
yeah, we'll watch a
All of
boring
this little
video.
verbal little nicks and cleverness that I know for certain that if I ever met George Will, this guy is an insane narcissist. So you can read these kinds of things by the way people write, and they reveal it in their texts, they reveal it in their emails, they reveal it in their articles that they write. Look at whether people are on time, their relationship to time. Are they people who procrastinate, right? Who you've given them a task to do in 1 week and they
I wasn't
take 2
attacking.
weeks.
No, I was messing around. It's always funny to like blow what people say about me out of proportion. You know,
Etc., and they have an excuse.
I get you
Their
that. I'm not like
relationship to time
it's not like
reveals
that.
something very deep about their personality, whether they are conscientious, whether they think, whether they're other directed or they're inner directed. It's all about me. I can take however long I want. I can be 5-10 minutes late. It doesn't matter. This is really just about me. You're not paying attention to these details. Everything that people do, how they drive, how they write something, how late.
The only time I'm late to stuff is when I don't want to be there. Like there's like just a part of me that doesn't want to show up. I don't know if it's necessarily narcissistic. It's just like I don't know. I'm like, oh, I gotta go to this. I gotta do this. Like
Late they are.
I don't know if that's a
It's
selfish
all
thing.
a language, and the more you can pay attention to this. I also tell people giving job interviews, right? Don't pay so much attention to what people say, but to look at how uncomfortable they are in certain situations. So you pose a question on them that you're hoping they don't know the answer to in a job interview.
Yeah, I mean, what did Emerson say? To be great is to be misunderstood. At a certain point, like yeah, it's just here's what it is.
I'm putting some pressure on them. You're asking a question that comes a little bit from left field. Okay, do they like double down and act like they know the answer and they kind of make something up on the spot, kind of bullshitting their way through? Or are they going to go, you know what? I never thought of that. I don't really know the answer to that. I'll have to think about it. That's a sign of somebody who's actually more intelligent and more interesting. They don't have these incredible insecurities. They'll be able to take criticism. So on and on and on. And the idea is you're walking around, it's like a flat screen. People in your life are like one-dimensional, and you're projecting onto the screen your own ideas about them, your own preconceptions, your own prejudices. You're seeing into people what you want to see.
All right, let's look for another video. Should we watch a Joe Rogan video? Uh, what should I look up? I can't think linearly. My brain is like a world or a constellation or something. There's nowhere to begin or end. I mean, like nowadays everything's controversial. Which I Jordan Peterson. I only like his when he talks about psychology. All right, I'll definitely get through this one.
Jung was a tremendously insightful clinician, and he was a strange person, introverted visionary. high in introversion, very, 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 very high in openness, like off the charts. And
Jung had like psychic levels of perception. Like there was a instance where he had a client that he couldn't cure, and then he had a dream, and in that dream he got an unconscious image that allowed him to cure his patient. Like it's very um yeah, if it's a long video, there's no shot I get through it. That's the thing. I'll watch it on my own, I'll let you know. But he had like almost like a psychic ability to read signs that he was getting and then apply that into his own life. You're the same way too, because I think something and then play the devil's advocate for every argument. Yeah, there's just a war in your brain at all times.
also, God only knows what his IQ was. I mean, every time I read Jung, it's like reading Nietzsche. It's terrifying because, you know, he's so damn smart that he can think up.
Dude, wait till you read the Red Book. Holy shit. You read the Red Book and you're like, this guy's not just like a normal genius. He has like deep spiritual insights and he's writing this in a poetic sense that like rivals any sort of Rosicrucian poem or Freemasonic literature, anything of that likes. Like it genuinely reads like that stuff. It's very weird that like you're reading the greatest psychologist almost speak in tongues. It's terrifying in a sense.
Answers to questions that you don't even, it's not like you don't understand the answers. It's that you never conceptualized the damn questions. It's really something to read someone like that, right? Who says, well, here's a mystery. And you think, wow, I never thought of that as a mystery. And here's the solution. It's like, okay, that's something, you know. And he could read Greek and he read all the ancient, he read a very large variety of ancient languages and was very familiar with the entire.
He became obsessed with alchemy as well. Like if you want to understand what alchemy is, read Jung. It's very weird how that's how like deep his insights on that was.
Entire corpus of astrological thought and of alchemical thought and of classic literature and biblical stories, and I mean educated in a way that no one is educated now. And so he's a very daunting person to encounter and terrifying, absolutely terrifying. His book Ion, which is the second volume of,
I haven't read that yet.
It's the second volume of volume 9, which is the archetype.
That's one of the next things I want to read by him. I think that's his something to do with the Christian myth. I think that's what it is.
The collective unconscious. That damn book is just absolutely terrifying because Jung, he's one of these visionaries who can see way underneath the social structures and look at patterns that are developing across.
The Red Book is. I don't know if you should read it if you're not familiar with Jung. Though that's the thing. If you've read a lot of him, pick it up. But it's something that I'm going through, and I'm like, I need to read this like 3, 4 more times before I get what he's saying here. It's not something that like you can really take away a lot from if you're new to alchemy, if you're new to Jung, if you're new to that side of things. Maybe if you've read psychology and alchemy before, then you'll be able to read it. It's just I don't know what somebody that hasn't picked up those books is gonna take from it. It's just it's not gonna be like anything you've ever read before. Like it genuinely reads like Crowley. It's very weird.
For in Jung's case, across thousands of years and lays them out. And so that's really something to encounter. Ion is a terrifying book. Anyways, one question might be, well, because I read Jung and I think, how the hell did he know these things? How could he figure these things out? I can't understand how he could possibly know these things. Well, here's a partial answer. Jung was a visionary, and so what that means, as far
When he talks about synchronicity, you'll read it and you're just gonna like your jaw will drop when you read that book. What should I read first then? You haven't read anything by him? Oh, I just put it away in my bookcase. Man and His Symbols. That's the easiest one to read. The Undiscovered Self. That's another easy one to read because it's like 80 pages, 100 pages. And then Memories, Dreams, Reflections. Because when you have context about who he is and some of his deeper ideas, it'll be easier to grasp. Was Jung spiritual too? Jung steeped all of his science in spiritualism and all of his spiritualism in science. He recognized the importance of both, and a lot of his discoveries were first spiritual discoveries that he backed up with science. Um, he was lucky that he was in a field like psychology where things are kind of more open for interpretation because there's a lot of like spirituality that he splices into his ideas. It's very, very interesting when you look into it. And this is where the big schism between him and Freud started. Jung believed that there was something to the spiritual side of human beings. There was something to the idea of faith, of hope, of the neuroses subjected to people that had messed up ideas of religion. And Freud thought it was purely just the people going crazy, but it's really like a deeper societal or human issue that we all struggle with to a certain extent. It's like you read Jung and you're like, this is like it's more of like a philosopher than it is a psychologist. That's how I take it. And the thing about reading it is like it doesn't even feel like you're reading psychology. It feels like you're taking a personal journey with your soul. Because you'll start to notice things that have happened to you. You'll start to see past memories and you start to see why you're seeing them at the current moment. You're seeing issues that you haven't dealt with, and now it's your chance to deal with them. Now you're remembering these things to right the wrong that you did to yourself.
As far as I can tell, and like we could do a little quick survey here. How many of you think in words? Put up your hands. Do you think in words? Okay, so it looks like. What about pictures? How many of you think in pictures? Okay, so that's interesting. How many of you think, that's about half and half, by the way. Probably a fewer on the word side. How many of you think in pictures and words? Okay, and so, all right, so it was roughly a third in each category, but that's also something that I really haven't encountered any research on from the neuropsychological perspective. It's like,
Jung on symbolism too was the way he describes symbols, the way he describes how symbols hold such a power over us is so. It's something that you'll be like, yeah, yeah, I get it. Symbols are important, but when you understand that when you see like a cross or when you see like, I don't know, American flag, like that's not just a symbol, that's not just like a relic, it's not a physical thing, it's also an idea. It's also something that holds some deep emotional tie to, the individual that's observing it. It's very weird. We all associate um different feelings, different ideas with different symbols. But like the power these symbols hold over us is just so immense.
well, do you think in
How old
pictures
am
or do you
I?
think in words? And
Don't worry
is
about it.
that actually a reliable distinction? I think in words most of the time. But I can think in pictures. Like if I'm trying to build something, I can think in pictures very almost instantaneously, but it isn't my natural mode of thinking. I'm hyperverbal, and so my natural mode of thinking is to think everything through in words. But I know my wife isn't like that. She thinks in images and then has to translate them into words. And so, anyways, Jung was very literate and
I
he
think I think
could
of
really
both.
think in words, but he could.
I have no idea. I haven't actually thought of it. I always thought that it was everyone thought of both. I never knew it was one or the other. Isn't it like 70 or 80% of people don't have internal dialogues? That's the most haunting thing I've ever heard of. It's like I wish I didn't have a voice in my head telling me stuff like deeply analyzing the most simple problem and making it so complex.
Really think in images. Also, talking to my wife quite extensively, like the intensity of her visualization vastly exceeds mine. So, for example, if I close my eyes and I try to imagine the crowd in front of me, it's pretty low resolution and vague.
Man and His Symbols. So that book it came out of an interview that Jung did. I think it was a series of interviews. And basically, Jung was very late into his life. I think he died in a few years after, maybe a year or two after these interviews. But basically, he was trying to bring these ideas to a larger audience. And the guy that did the interviews was like, hey, why don't we write a book about this where it's your ideas for the everyday man, someone that doesn't have a PhD or a degree in psychology. Like, why don't we bring it to a mass audience to really inspire a lot of people? And at first he declined because he didn't think it could be done. He didn't really think it was going to be something useful. And eventually he started receiving a lot of letters, a lot of people saying like these ideas changed my life. So he changed his mind and he got a bunch of his students. He I think he wrote one section and then a bunch of his like most dedicated followers, most dedicated students that were clinical psychologists themselves wrote other sections and it's that is probably the most comprehensive and simplistic version of Jung you'll get. Like some of the takeaways I got from that book was like really, really like I had never picked up and I had read like five, six Jung books before that. And like you know what I mean? It's like I didn't really understand the importance of dreams until I read that book because everything that I had read was simply about the unconscious. It wasn't about dream analysis. It wasn't about dreams. Whereas that's pretty much the entire basis of Jung's ideology that inside your dreams is the solution to your life, the solution to your problems. Everything that you're looking for, you can be guided into the right direction by looking into your dreams because that shows the unexpressed side of yourself. That shows the messages and the things that you should actually begin to focus on. And it's only when we can grasp like the smallest detail from our dreams when we can start to unwind the complexity of our minds. Again, it's easier said than done. You usually can only understand like one aspect of a dream. It's really hard to understand everything, but like the little breadcrumbs you can pick up will give you a lifetime of progress.
Vague and not brilliantly colored and vivid. You know, it's like I'm seeing through a glass darkly, let's say. I can't bring images to mind with spectacular clarity, but my wife is very good at that, and Jung seemed to be absolutely a genius at that kind of thinking. And he had a lot of visionaries in his family history as well. So I don't know to what degree there's a hereditary component of that, and I don't know to what degree that's actually like a neurological specialization. I presume it would be associated with.
Should watch this. You tried lucid dreaming? Oh, I've lucid dreamed my entire life. I don't want to do it anymore. It's terrifying. Well,
There's this idea.
the thing about dreaming is when you have a healthy unconscious, when you have a good relationship with the shadow, you don't really have bad dreams. But when you don't, when you're like a troubled person, when you don't fulfill certain parts of your life and address certain issues, you have a bad issue with your unconscious. And basically what this will mean is you're gonna have nightmares. What this is gonna mean is that like you're gonna torment yourself while you sleep. So it's like you can either have good lucid dreams or bad lucid dreams. Now I only have good ones, but yeah, I've had a lot of bad ones. I used to like I would wake up and I'd be like screaming and I'd be like, oh shit, it was just a dream. And then my parents would be like, what is wrong with you? I'm like, I don't know. Like it's just something that happens. What does thinking in images mean? I don't just see images when I think, I see the world in my own internal world. Why are you trying to get poetic? It's just when you hear a word, do you think of an image? Like how do you tie concepts from the real world into your brain? How do you process things? How does information transfer? Like when you have a certain feeling, do you see a word or do you see an image? Like it's a lot more complex than that, but it's also as simple as that. Um, you would know though, I feel like I feel like you would just it would be something that is very readily apparent to you.
In Jungian psychology called the
Like when I think I don't I don't know what's gonna come out of my mouth next. It's just pure consciousness. So I'm guessing that I think in images. I'm guessing that it's not words. If that makes sense.
circumambulation. And Jung had this idea that you had a potential future self, which would be in potential everything that you could be, and that it manifests itself moment to moment in your present life by making you interested in things. And the things that you're interested in are the things that would guide you along the path that would lead you to maximal development. Now, it sounds like a metaphysical idea or a mystical idea even, but it's not. It's not. It's a really profoundly biological idea. The idea is something like, well, you're set.
You see what he was saying? He was basically talking about the law of assumption. I mean, if you really break it down to that, that's what it is.
Up so that you're automatically interested in those things that would fully expand you as a well-adapted creature. Well, like, there's nothing radical about that idea. What else could possibly be the case? Unless there's something fundamentally flawed about you, that is what the situation would be. It's kind of interesting to think about how that would be manifest moment to moment, but the idea is something like, well, you're interested.
I say internal world because it's not exactly the same as the actual world. This is vivid in my head. It's called your imagination, dude. Our internal world shaped the external world. Were you here yesterday when we were talking about um, differences in how we describe things? Like, we could look at the exact same painting and we could describe it in diametrically opposing words. And while it might agree to like 99%, there is 1% of differences. There is some difference in how we interpret things, how we view things. Therefore, we all live in our own universe, say.
Interest is captured by those things that lead you down the path of development. Well, that better be the case. Okay, so that's fine. And so there's some utility in pursuing those things that you're interested in. That's the call to adventure, let's say. So, and the call to adventure takes you all sorts of places. Now, the problem with the call to adventure is, like, what the hell do you know? You might be interested in things that are kind of warped and bent. And often it's the case that when new parts of people manifest themselves and grip their interests, say, they do it very badly and shoddily. And so you stumble around like an idiot when you try to do something new. That's why the fool is the precursor to the savior from the symbolic perspectives, because you have to be a fool before you can be a master. And if you're not willing to be a fool, then you can't be a master. So
Jung has a interesting archetype. I'm guessing it's one of them. I don't know exactly what his archetypes are. Bro, you're thinking about this too much. When you perceive an idea, when an idea comes into your mind, is it in the form of words or in the form of images? That's it.
you're going to, it's an error, error-ridden process. And that's also laid out in the Old Testament stories, because the first thing that happens to all these patriarchal figures when God kicks them out of their father's house when they're like 84 is that they run into all sorts of trouble, and some of it's social and some of it's natural and some of it's a consequence of their own moral inadequacy. So they're fools. But the thing that's so interesting is that despite the fact that they're fools, they're still supposed to go on the adventure, and that they're capable of learning enough as a consequence of moving forward on the adventure so that they straighten themselves out across time.
This is what Jung calls the individuation process, the process of learning who you are through the course of life.
And so it's something like this. This circumambulation that Jung talked about was this continual, we'll return to this continual circling in some sense of who you could be. You might notice, for example, that there are themes in your life. You know, when you go back across your experiences, you see you kind of have your typical experience that sort of repeats itself. And there might be variation on it, like a musical theme, but it's like...
You still convince me to read him? The kind of reason I stay away from Jung is to see a logical reason behind everything and intellectualize it. Things like you're attracted to someone because you project. That's literally one of his beliefs. His beliefs are so complex that I can't describe them in any fashion that does them justice. Like, it's it's about getting to the depths of your soul that so you can come to terms with it, and that these deep psychological issues don't bother me anymore. But Jung has the entire idea of the anima animus principle where you project an idealized image of a woman onto your partner, and basically it's either shaped by your mother and father, and it's the idealized version of these people. And until you come to grips with this idealized image and realize that this idealized version of the other gender is the traits that you're not giving to yourself, until you understand that, you can never um, quite have a good relationship. And then there's different examples where it's like you had an overbearing mother, so that you find someone that basically replaces that role, and they demand the most of you. Like there's a bunch of different things, but it's just I like to think of it as a broad concept.
You're circling yourself and getting closer to yourself as you move across time. That's the circumambulation. Now, you remember that for a sec, because we'll go back to it. Okay, so imagine that something glimmers before you. It's an interest that's dawning, and you decide, well, first of all, you're paralyzed. You think, well, how do I know if I should pursue that? It's probably a stupid idea. And the proper response to that is, you're right, it probably is a stupid idea, because almost all ideas are stupid. And so
Almost all ideas are stupid. I think that might be his best quote ever.
the probability that as you move forward on your adventure that you're going to get it right the first time is zero. It's just not going to happen. And so then you might think, well, maybe I'll just wait around until I get the right idea, and which people do, right? So they're like 40-year-old 13-year-olds, which is not a good idea. So they wait around until it's waiting for Godot, until they finally got it right. But the problem is you're too stupid to know when you've got it right. So waiting around isn't going to help, because even if the perfect opportunity.
Let's see, how long am I streaming for? Because I'm starting to get tired. I'm hungry. Should I finish this video? It's gonna take me another hour to do. Oh my God, what am I opening? I'll keep going a little longer.
Manifested itself to you in your incomplete form, the probability that you would recognize it as the perfect opportunity is zero. You might even think it's the worst possible idea that you've ever heard of anywhere. Highly likely, highly likely. So you have, there's, Nietzsche called that a will to stupidity, which I really liked. So, because he thought of stupidity as being it, you know, you have to take it into account fundamentally and work with it. And so you can take these tentative steps on your pathway to destiny, and you can assume that you're going to do it badly. And that's really useful, because you don't have to be.
That's like the idea of learning from mistakes. I think we live in a day and age where like the idea of making a mistake is the idea that like everything is over. I don't know if it's always been this way, maybe it has, but I don't know. I just see a lot of like young people putting a lot of pressure on themselves, and any sort of misstep is just a sign to give in. Any sign of a misstep is a sign to, pack your bags and, just head out. But it's very, very weird to me that you think that you're going to figure out every aspect of your life at such a young age. Like, I mean, there's people that are in nursing homes that still haven't figured out anything about the world. So it's like, why are you being so hard on yourself today?
Beat yourself up. It's pretty easy to do it badly. But the thing is, it's way better to do it badly than not to do it at all. And that's the continual message that echoes through these historical stories in Genesis. It's like, these are flawed people. They should have got the hell out of their house way before they did. And they go out and they stumble around in tyranny and famine and self-betrayal and violence. But it's a hell of a lot better than just rotting away at home. And that's great. So that's good. And so why is that? Well, okay, so you start your path and you think that you're heading, towards your star.
Jung said that life begins at 40 because at 40 you have established yourself in this world, and now you have to come to grips with the person you are. Now you have to start the process of contextualizing yourself in the world and in the mistakes you made, and through this journey is where you find out who you really are.
And so you go in that.
I don't know if I agree it's that late though.
Then,
I think you
because
can start the process much
you're
younger.
here, the world looks a particular way, but then when you move here, the world looks different.
You're just thinking about it too hard. I can literally tell you that's what it is. Like, just drop the idea and it'll click tomorrow. It's that thing. Like, these aren't concepts, these aren't ideas that the more you think about, the more they're going to make sense. These are ideas that exist purely through intuition, purely through like a poetic creative sense. Um, I mean, this is even something Freud said. Like, one of Freud's most credited ideas is the idea of the unconscious mind, the idea of the passive mind. And he basically stated that like every great poet throughout history understood this idea. Like, these are ideas that are intuitive, not something you can observe. And that's the reason why Jung's ideology is so complex, because it's getting to the root of these intuitions, getting to the root of these intuitions for the individual, and then asking what does that mean for the logical side of things? What does that mean in the context of the actual individual?
And you're different as a consequence of having made that voyage. And so what that means is that now that thing that glimmers in front of you is going to have shifted its location, because you weren't very good at specifying it to begin with, and now that you're a little sharper and more focused than you were, it's it's going to reveal itself with more accuracy to you. And so then you have to take a, it's almost like a 180-degree reversal. But it isn't, because you've gone this far, and that's a long ways to get that far. But that's a lot
That's like the
farther than
worst. Like,
you would.
what is like? You couldn't come up with a better. This guy has like unlimited money, and he couldn't come up with a better fucking diagram than this. I don't know. When people describe thinking in images, isn't how I describe it. Yeah, it's just something. It'll just click, man. I think you're just worrying about it too much. When you fixate on something too much, you usually lose sight of what is right in front of you.
Would be if you just stayed where you were waiting. And so it doesn't matter that you overshoot continually, because as you overshoot, even if you don't learn what you should have done, you're going to continually learn what you shouldn't keep doing. And if you learn enough about what you shouldn't keep doing, then that's tantamount at some point to learning at the same time what you should be doing. So it's okay. So it's like this. Now, what's cool about it, though, I think, is that as you progress, the degree of overshooting starts to decline, right? And that we know that.
I'm just still laughing that like this is the presentation he came up with. Like, literally, like pulled up MS Paint. Like, bro, the amount of money this guy has, and he could just do like the most insane like visual images.
There's nothing hypothetical about that. As
Like,
you
why
learn a
even
new
have them? You
skill,
don't need to
like even
do
to
it.
play a song on the piano, for example, you overshoot madly. You're making all sorts of mistakes to begin with, and then the mistakes, they disappear. There's a great TED talk, I think it was, about this guy set up a really advanced computational recording system in his home.
He makes $20 million a year from book sales. How? How? These books are good, but they're not like I didn't read it and be like, all right, this is one of the top books I've ever read. Like, I need to make space for it in my top five books. Like, no. Don't get me wrong, there's like some interesting ideas in it, but I think like ah, I mean, all power to you if you're making that much money. Like clearly you're helping a lot of people, but it's just sad. Like, imagine if people spent the same amount of time reading his books that they took to reading Memories, Dreams, Reflections, or Man and His Symbols. I think a lot more insights can be gained from those two works. But again, it's the easy solution. Like, his books are for mass marketed. His books are like on every shelf in Barnes and Nobles, whereas like most of the books that I look for, I gotta go on Amazon. I can't get the same cookie cutter information and be like, this changed my life. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's like I feel like it's like that with everything though. Like the most popular books are usually like the worst kinds. Like it's very rare will I'll um really enjoy a book that is like loved by everyone. Like I don't know if it's just me being a hater. I don't know if it's me being like a contrarian for the sake of being different. But like the moment something gains mass notoriety is the moment I think it loses um the depth. Because in order to cater to the wider audience, you need to curtail some of the depth, curtail some of the meaning. Like I mean, think of the average person. This is a George Carlin bit. Think of the average person. 50% of those people are 50% of the population is dumber than that. So it's like, have you ever watched an ad while you're watching football? Have you ever watched an ad on TV and been like, who the fuck buys it? The sad reality of it is that those ads are working on some people. So it's like, while we're trying to become better, people are staying in the same place. So, I mean, it only really makes sense. But no, I wouldn't be shocked if it was $20 million a year from book sales. Um, it doesn't say on this how many he sold. I have the other one. I have the first one over there, I think. I don't see it. Um, but I wouldn't be shocked. It's like if you sell like what a book's like 15, $20, if you sell 10 million copies, which I'm sure all of his books have done, it's not really that out of the question.
and recorded every single utterance his young child made while learning to speak. And then he put together the child's attempts to say certain phonemes and put them in a list, and you can hear the child deviating madly to begin with, and then after hundreds and hundreds of repetitions, just zeroing right in on the exact phoneme. So, you know, you might not know this, but when kids babble, because
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, he definitely helps a lot of people. It's just I wish there was more depth to it because he's talking about interesting things here. You know what I mean? I wish he like explored the deeper concepts. I mean, again, that's just me being at a different stage of things. Like those books probably aren't meant for me. Those books are meant for people that really don't feel like they have any hope. Whereas like I'm I'm trying to get to the source of things. I'm trying to get to the source of um who it is that I am. And like it's only through reading like books like this that I think I'm gonna find it. Or I don't know, even Kierkegaard or um, Gus Faust. Like that's the kind of shit I'm interested in. Like I'm not in it for the cookie cutter information anymore. Like I can't really read books that are for like a mass market audience. It's just not gonna resonate with me as much.
they start babbling
Which
when
isn't a
they're
bad
quite
thing.
young,
It's
they
just
babble
different
every human
stages.
phoneme, including all sorts of phonemes that adults can't say. And then they die into their language so that after they learn, say, English, then there's all sorts of phonemes they can no longer hear or pronounce. But to begin with, it's all there, which is really quite interesting. But so as they learn a particular language, they zero in on the proper way to pronounce that, and their errors minimize. And every time you learn something, that's how it is. And that's really useful to know too.
The thing about him is I wish he only talked about psychology and philosophy, but he talks about like he talks about the culture war, like he's like putting himself in like he has conversations with like right wing grifters, and I'm like, bro, like you could be doing so much more. You could be doing some really interesting stuff, but you're like, I won't even name these people because they don't deserve my thought. They don't deserve me speaking their name. Like it's just like some of the lowest level of content, like some of the most boring and uninsightful takes, and like this guy's sitting down and having a conversation with them when he could be doing something like this, you know?
Because it means that it's okay to wander around stupidly before you fix your destination. Now, you see that echoed in Exodus, right? Because what happens is that the Egyptians or the Hebrews escape a tyranny, which is kind of whatever you do personally and psychologically when you escape from your previous set of stupidly held and ignorant and stubborn axioms. It's like away from that tyranny. It's like, great.
Getting really hungry. Um, I'll try to find a good clip clip of him tomorrow. We'll keep reacting to him. This is interesting. It's just I'm getting hungry. I'm getting tired. I got to do other stuff, and I didn't realize what time it was. But I think I should have more time tomorrow. Actually, I have no idea. But yeah, I'll stream again tomorrow. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you guys for having fun. Thank you guys for asking good questions. It was a pretty fun stream. Yeah, that's all I gotta say. Have a good rest of your night. Yeah, I hope you figure out the thinking in images versus thinking in words problem. But maybe one day, maybe one day. But yeah.